So Carlos and Alexa, a lot to dive into here. We're going to be talking here about Mr. Manhattan, and this is a really interesting film. It hits on a lot of big themes. Carlos, I'll start with you. You play Mason. What was it that made you want to dive into this film when you saw the script?
Well, I was the number one on the call sheet, and my wife was number two.
Oh my gosh!
So, no, I'm kidding.
But for real, that was the first time you were number one.
That was really
on the
cool.
call sheet.
It was really cool to lead a movie. I've never actually done that. Normally, I'm like one of the supportings, but no, I loved the journey. I always tell people I love making faith-based films. Sometimes I find that they can be a little too like on the nose, like let's tell a Jesus story. And not that that's bad, but if we're trying to reach a wider audience and cast a bigger net, I think that we need to be making more worldly content, right?
But from a kingdom heart.
From a kingdom heart.
Yeah.
Content, because people are broken. Life has hills and valleys, right? Mm-hmm. Peaks and valleys. So, so for me, I think I really felt like this was a step in that direction. It was a movie that had a great story, but also had a great message, and it wasn't, I hate to say it this way, but it's not shoving faith down anyone's throat. It's like, hey, just come watch this movie, come see this guy's journey, and come see how God interjected himself into his life and how things panned out.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like there's so many real stories that are tough. Like they're hard, they're gritty. Like we know this, like life is difficult sometimes. And I think a lot of where we are right now in Christian film is like, we haven't gotten there yet fully, and we're starting to, right? Where we're telling those stories, and there might be a difficult word here or there because that's the reality of what happened. And so I don't know if you want to respond to that at all, Alexa. I didn't mean to talk over you. Go ahead.
No. Hey, I was just kind of jumping in with you. No, the Christian walk isn't pretty. And I feel like that's something that I think maybe modern day Christianity has tried to sell a little bit, where, if you join the church, if you are a part of our Christian faith, you get a bow, it's going to be easy, and you're going to get what you want. And it's actually the opposite. It's really flipping hard. And you are going to be wrestling with God a lot throughout your journey, but it is the most fulfilling walk you'll ever take. And it's also the most peaceful walk that you'll ever take. And, we can really attest to this as like, Billy, like we're walking through grief right now after losing our daughter. And that was the hardest thing we have ever had to experience, ever. But what's awesome about our God is he has truly met us between this place of pain and peace. And he really spoke to us with, like, we've been saying, like, the slogan for this season really feels like pain with purpose. And it's interesting how God will make any painful experience that you have gone through, whether it was before you really knew him because he already knew you, or while you're walking with him, he brings purpose to all the painful things in your life. And he turns them into testimonies. He turns them into the thing that you thought was going to kill you actually is the thing that elevates you. And it's been very unique for us to be in this season because I feel like we've gotten a chance to know God on a level that we didn't even know we were capable of, because he's really brought us to a whole new place with him. And it's been very fruitful in a season that could have felt otherwise.
Yeah, and you've both it's been inspirational to watch how you've navigated that, and even how you're talking about it now, because I think there's so many people hurting and going through so many different things. And what you have faced is one of the most unimaginable things to go through. And you've both handled it with such grace. And I want to commend you for that. And just thank you for always being two people, in the public eye who are willing to share your faith and who are willing to create projects that inspire people, right? And this project that we're talking about here, just inspiring people. And one thing about the two of you too, that is so unique is you work really well together. Carlos, what is it?
She's okay.
Wow.
Well, the girl that we made the offer to first.
This is not a funny joke.
She couldn't do it.
It's a mean joke.
No. But hold on. The beauty of it is that it was such a blessing that she didn't make it, and then we got Alexa. We saved a little bit of money on the budget, and she was wonderful to work with. So.
You guys, I promise, Carlos has many redeeming qualities.
Is it okay? I don't want to start a fight here, but is it ever hard to work together? I would imagine it's fun. There's great moments. Is it ever difficult?
I think here's what I'll say. For the most part, 9 times out of 10, it is amazing. But then you have the moments where we're both human. We're going to let each other down. We're going to mess up. So whatever happens at home, you do your best to not bring it to work, right?
Yeah.
But you can't help but like it will never affect our work, which is awesome. But I remember specifically on this set, we got in a tiff where we just missed each other in our communication. And the next couple days on set were just harder. They were just harder, but these are things that
she's my wife, and my work wife. So most people get 2, I only get 1, and it's
but you just learn to find that balance. And actually, to be honest with you, it really stretches you and forces you to have to get through those situations faster because you're working together. So if anything, it's like going to the gym and getting a harder workout, but in the end, you become stronger for it.
Amen.
I like that. Yeah. And let's be honest, in marriage, most things that happen, they're just miscommunications. It's little things that sometimes, but it's really cool that the two of you get to work together on this film, that you're out here promoting it together. What, Carlos, would you say is the big takeaway when it comes, to a spiritual perspective on this film?
That people think God is transactional instead of relational.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest takeaway for sure.
And I feel like everybody deals with that in life. It's like, well, God, I did this. Why did you do this to me?
Yeah.
Well, I did this, but why this? And that's not how God works,
Or I'll do this so that you'll do this, God. Right? There's a lot of that too. Like if you just give me this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why I loved reading the script so much, was watching Mason's character really wrestle with this idea of what he thought God was versus who God really is. And I thought Carlos did a really good job with navigating that journey.
Thank you very much.
What a nice compliment. That's a great compliment. I love that.
I'll have to think of something good to say about
her. The two of you, when it comes to faith and then creating these kinds of projects, it's interesting because you can go a lot of different ways in Hollywood, and you guys have done everything, right? And music, and obviously, Carlos, with you, and then film, and then TV. What is it? You were kind of speaking to this before, Carlos, but I'll start with you, Alexa. What keeps you guys wanting to tell these kinds of stories? The stories that go deeper than just entertaining. They entertain, but they do more than that.
I actually feel like it's because we were genuinely called to do this. God has just given us, he's given us so many opportunities, but he's really given us this platform and has really been pouring into our hearts where he's like, I need you to reach people. And the entertainment industry is just something that we've always loved, that we've really been able to flourish in. But at this point in our lives right now, God's like, we're in this place where, again, like Carlos was saying, like people view God as either transactional or just dead, like non-existent. They don't realize how embedded he is in your life, like from when you were in your womb. Like he loves you, he knew you, he knit you together. So for us, we're like, okay, how do we do exactly what Carlos was saying? How do we make content that is for the world, but really coming from a kingdom heart? And I think the biggest thing is finding characters that, are broken like all of us, but really have that redemption in the end. And you don't even necessarily it doesn't have to be a faith-based movie. It doesn't have to be like a Jesus, you saved my life, but just knowing that there is more and that, walking through a life that is different and transformational than maybe where you were before.
Yeah.
I think these are the seeds that we can be planting. And that's all we can
do.
Well,
most of these movies have this, let's just call it a Jesus lens, right? It's like, life is perfect. Nobody gets a divorce. There's no death. Everyone's the grass is green. It's so nice. I'm so sad. Jesus save me. And it's like, okay, I get it. I'm not dogging these movies, but take that lens off, and it's like, life can be.
You got to
Life can be
wrestle
tough.
with God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at, like, I can only imagine, some of the movies that Jesus Revolution, some of these movies have gone into these deeper spaces now. And I think part of that is just the growth of the industry and the Christian portion of it, right? People sort of finding the better stories to tell.
And I'm sorry to jump in again, but actually, most of the time, the people who are making these faith-based movies aren't Christian.
Aren't Christian.
So their idea of what they think is a faith-based movie, that's why they look the way they do. They're like, okay, get on your knees and pray. And you're like, I don't get on my knees and pray. I talk to
Like
God
this.
like this. Like,
Yeah.
they think in their heads, they're like, no, this is what you do. And that's why so many of the movies look like this. A lot of the actors aren't really like faith-based, or if they are, it's like very loose, very new. So you get these movies that are made by people who don't actually have a relationship with God, and that's why they look the way that they do. So we're actually trying to bring together people, and not to say that we only want to work with, Christian people, not at all. But when you are creating content with people who actually really know God and talk to God and understand God, the content is going to look very different.
Absolutely. Okay, so final question, and before I get there, Mr. Manhattan, it's streaming on May 23rd on Great American Pure Flix. But final question for you, and I've been doing this lately in interviews, and not just in light of what you've been going through, but just in general, your career, what you're doing. How can people who are watching or listening be praying for the two of you?
That is so good. I love that.
Well, we just had a huge breakthrough, Lex and I. And it was all based on, what was it from? Obviously miscommunication, but what's the word? I do it.
The lens, the wound.
No, like I'm trying to figure out, like, we can't take offense, right, to everything. We all get so guilty. Like, you tell me, I really don't like that shirt, and it's like, what? I picked it out, I put it on, I ironed it, whatever.
Hurts your feelings.
Yeah, and it's like, we can't get so hurt. So, I think just in our marriage and our life, I would, we could pray for some just the flow. Oh, man, what am I even saying? It makes sense in my head, guys.
No,
it does make sense. It's making sense.
No, because that was our biggest thing, was we're just learning how to communicate with each other without taking offense, because we are with each other 24/7, right? Yeah. And I can tell you what she's thinking, and if she says something, I can tell you exactly how she's going to react to it. Or at least I think I do. And that just causes a bunch of stuff. So I just think, like, patience with understanding each other. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Well,
I'm going off what just happened last week.
Listen. I think the biggest thing that we have been praying for is God make us teachable.
Hey, there we go.
Like,
boom.
God really make us teachable.
Delete what I said. Delete it all. Erase it.
It was good. It was good.
It was good. It got us there.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest thing, is you think like, oh, use me, whatever. But like, at the end of the day, you're like, no, like, really make me teachable so that I have eyes to see, ears to hear. Yeah. So
also, it is officially snowing in Tennessee in May,
it's
guys.
Just, there's so much pollen. It is everywhere.
Billy, I'm looking, and it is snowing outside.
Yeah. That's, you got to be on those allergy meds right now. You can't survive without them. But I got to tell you, believing the best in for me, for my wife, I have to believe the best in her intention, right? And sometimes I don't do that. I get over offended by every little thing. So I don't know if that's what you were saying, Carl, but that's something for me that I have to do. So
exactly what I was saying. The fact that I'm not alone in this world. Excuse me.
Well,
we're not alone.
I feel like a lot of times, it's easy to look at the world through the lens of your wounds as opposed to what's actually happening.
Boom.
And
Boom.
And when you do that, you really can miss people who are either just talking to you, having a conversation, or even just who want to offer you something. It's easy to miss that when you operate through that lens.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? We should do a follow-up interview, like marital advice, because we've all solved this. This is great. So I love it. But the film is Mr. Manhattan. Yeah, it's all done. There's no more. Well, listen, I appreciate you both so much joining me. The movie is Mr. Manhattan. Great to see you both.
Thanks,
Billy,
Billy.
great seeing
We'll
you
see you
again.
soon, bud.
Thank